Right, so exactly, so that was a good question. So you're asking, is a way where you can exclude certain viewers from your broadcast on Periscope. Very good. So Periscope is connected with Twitter. So that kind of leads into the background I want to give you. It was actually invented a year ago, a little over a year ago, by these two gentlemen. And the app was invented by them. It was bought by Twitter. So it's connected with Twitter in the sense that you need to have a Twitter account when you're broadcasting out. So what will happen when you have the app, it will notify your Twitter followers of your broadcast. But to answer your question, you could actually exclude certain followers from the broadcast. That was a good question. So you could actually do that.
The other reason I was just wondering, like, thinking with, and like, if you're trying to get students to watch your cast, or if you're doing a cast with a class, you wouldn't want to like slow down like that. Your feed or whatever, you want to slow it down.
Oh, because there's so many people viewing? I haven't heard of that being an issue as far as you mean the bandwidth for you broadcasting. I haven't heard that being an issue with that. No. Here's some of the other uses, and that was a great question. Here's some of the other uses for Periscope. So you can use it for scavenger hunts, virtual field trips, right? Because if you think about it, it's a live video share, so you can actually, you've got your cell phone, you can go to the museum and actually videotape certain, items in the museum, right? Parents can also, you can do conferences with parents. You can also talk to students. You can do one-on-ones with students with it. There's a lot of great uses for Periscope. I'm just going to focus on one that I found a lot of success with the application. Here's some more. Now, as I mentioned before, you can download Periscope on your cell phone. You have access through Twitter. You can limit who watches the broadcast. You can block actually followers from watching your broadcast. And also, the viewers of the broadcast can actually send you messages. So they can send messages to you so you can interact. So I want to share with you my road toward using Periscope. And the way I use Periscope, and what I'll explain as my best practice, is I use Periscope to actually bring guest speakers into the online environment. So my road to this, it was an arduous road, a lot of trial and error. And it actually started with using Blackboard Collaborate. Has anyone used Blackboard? Has anyone used Blackboard Collaborate? Okay. What do you think about Blackboard Collaborate?
Old version?
The old version, there's a new one. What were the challenges that you had?
Students don't want to spend 10 minutes downloading a Java application just to be able to jump in. The mobile experience is awful. It's not accessible.
Right.
So the bandwidth is also that, and just like for accessibility too, we have problems with that. The new version allows you to have like someone caption and browse.
Right, so you're absolutely right. With the mobile, you have to download the actual app, or if you're using it on a desktop, you also have to, there's a download you have to do. So there's some process there. Anyone else have any?
We've been using it, well, we were using it when it was Illuminate, and then Blackboard acquired it. So we've kind of been using the same kind of versions. They've done a few updates, but I agree. It's a little clunky. Having to walk everything through audio setup with their things and Java stuff. Yeah, it seems like it's constantly got to update your Java and things like that. But I mean, it works well when you can get it to work well.
It does. It does. It works well. It does what it needs to do, but there are processes there. So there's challenges on that side. So I want to tell you my experience, which led me to using Periscope. And it started with this man. So I know you're wondering, who is Mark Beyer? Well, I met Mark Beyer. We work out at the same place called Shred 415. We work out there. He's actually one of the trainers. And I've seen him for a while, talked to him, and he actually, besides being a trainer, he actually has his own protein bar. He has a company. He sells protein bars throughout the Midwest, Whole Foods, etc., and they're called Mark bars, so they're named after him. So, which is great, right? So, one day after class, we were in the locker room. We had a good it was a good locker room chat. So we had a good locker room chat. It was a good timing, right? It was a good locker room chat, good locker room conversation. I just wanted to ask him, okay, he's training at Shred. How did he get into making these Mark bars, protein bars? Yeah, how did this come about? He's a very interesting, very, very interesting man. So we're in the locker room. We're talking for a good 40 minutes. He's telling me how he grew up in Ohio. He did his undergrad in accounting, right? I teach accounting, finance. So he's telling me how he moved to California. Then he studied culinary arts, started catering, explained how he got into fitness, became a physical trainer. Then his culinary business, his catering business took off, got into fitness, and had the idea to make these bars. And that took off. Then his wife married her, then moved from California to Chicago. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I want to share this story with my student. They get a lot out of this, right? So at the time, I'm teaching a finance course completely online. So I'm thinking, wow, it would be great if he shared this story, his challenges, what he went through with my students. How can I do that? So that's how this ties into that Blackboard Collaborate. So he's a busy guy, and we scheduled one meeting. And if anyone knows that if you're adding someone externally to the Blackboard Collaborate, you have to send them a link, they have to download some things, and that didn't work well the first time. So then we had to schedule, so we wound up abandoning that meeting, and then we actually had to schedule another time, another meeting, and that worked out great. I mean, he was able to download everything. I walked him through it. It took about 20 minutes to walk him through how to download it. I started the session. I mean, it was just, I even learned more when he was speaking this time on the Collaborate than I did when we were in that locker room. But guess what I forgot to do?
Record.
I forgot to push record. So all of that great information, everything he was sharing for about an hour, he was talking for about an hour in detail, and he was more zealous talking to me because he knew he was talking to some students. Yeah, and we were talking to finance students, he studied accounting. So, yeah, he really, I was fired up. But at the end of all that, I didn't push record. So what do you think happened? Did I see Mark again? No. Wasn't able to connect with him. I felt so bad. It was, and I vowed, this isn't going to happen again, right? So I looked for another medium. Well, these are his Mark bars, by the way. So they're very tasty. They are. They're great. They're great. So I looked for another medium, and I found that in Hangouts and YouTube, right? Which is great. What I did there was, this time I was able to actually get a speaker, right? Schedule them to come to my office, come down to the office. I'd have the students ahead of time to write out some questions for them. They get the questions, and then we record it in the office. They're answering the questions from the students. And they get an opportunity to talk to them. And guess what happens? It records it, so it's saved there. No problems, no issues. As far as the technical part. as far as the technical part. Then later I was able to, it's saved in YouTube. I could then, you have your closed captioning, and then I can move that to Blackboard, put in an announcement, the students can watch it. They loved it, that was great. So here's the next challenge. And this is where the Periscope came into play. So, this person, wonderful woman, wonderful woman. I call her a serial entrepreneur. She has several businesses. She's got an app that she's created, fashion business. I mean, it's just amazing. And again, similar, I call it the Mark Beyer experience, right? Talking to her, I'm thinking, wow, it'd be great for her to share this story with my students. So what's the challenge here? Challenge here, she's busy, right? Very busy, constantly traveling. She loved the idea, but we just kept rescheduling. And then the other issue was the time it would take her to come to my office, and by the time she'd come there, and then the time allotted for it just wasn't enough. So, we were at an impasse. So we were kind of stuck in just rescheduling limbo, I call it. So at that time, and I call this serendipity, because I had a student by the name of Melissa, who, and this was last year, by the way. Melissa kept telling me, Professor, you need to try this app, Periscope. It's great. It'll help you with your classes. It's great. But do you think I listened? No. I said, okay, Melissa, okay. So finally, one day, I don't know what it is, that's why I call it serendipity in the form of Melissa. I said, let me download this app. It blew me away. So I had the app, it tied me into this situation with Mrs. Knox. Wow, what if I'm able to use this app and I can go to her office and interview her in her office? She doesn't have to do anything. She doesn't have to go anywhere. I walk right in. I don't have to set anything up. I've got my cell phone. I just push a button. Easy. And that's what we did. I called her up. I said, hey, listen, I want to come do the interview we talked about with the students. I want to come to your office. She's like, oh, well, are you gonna bring cameras and things? I said, no, I'm just gonna bring my cell phone. Your cell phone? How are you gonna do that on your cell phone? I said, I'm using Periscope. I said, what's a Periscope? So, the great thing is, I was able to get to her office. She had one of her assistants to actually hold the phone. We sat down in her office. She answered the questions. Then I had some students that actually came in and they were asking her questions, making comments on the live feed. It was awesome. Then, we were able to tell her what the questions were. She was able to answer them. So it was twofold. It was convenient for her, so it made it very easy for her, fit into her schedule. She didn't have to go anywhere. Really didn't have to do anything, just be there and answer those questions, right? Then I'm able to have some students to actually interact with her live, right? By typing in comments, and she can answer their questions. So now, the after part is, this video is recorded on my cell phone. So it's recorded on my cell phone. I can upload it, save it as an MP4, upload it to my friend YouTube, right? Save it there as a YouTube video. And then from there, I've got closed captioning. Then I can put that into Blackboard or D2L. So for the students that weren't able to get in there live and watch the broadcast, for whatever reason, they're able to watch it later, either on my YouTube channel, or they can watch it through Blackboard or D2L. So it's a win-win for everyone. So it made it easy for her, especially her being very busy. Made it very easy for me. I just went to her office and that was it, right? Go ahead.
Did you use the pull down that you have? Did you do the automatic captioning? Pull it down and doctor it a little bit?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Is everyone familiar with YouTube and the closed captioning feature? Okay, great. So that's how I used it. And that's what I wanted to share. So any questions or?
So when you went to her to do the interview, was that during the class time?
It was at her time.
Oh, it was
So-
at
so-
her time, so if students had time, you let them know what time you were going to meet with her. And so if they were available, they got on when you were talking to her and was able to ask questions.
Right, they can follow me. And
Follow you,
and-
got it.
But,
Okay.
but to go to, that was a great question.
Okay.
When you say class time, this course is a totally online class.
Okay, okay,
So that was a good question. So this
Okay.
spawned out of me wanting to be able to have what I call visitors or guests in the online environment. You know, similar to what I would have in a face-to-face or blended, if you want to call it, environment. So this facilitated that and made it easy to do.
File size or storage on your phone, any problems, like, yeah, take it off one at a time, or how, you know, file size wise?
I mean, I hadn't had any issues. The interview was about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't very long.
Wasn't very long.
Okay,
I didn't have any challenges with file size.
okay.
I mean, I have it on my phone, then I move it to OneDrive, and then from OneDrive, you know, I move it
Yeah.
from there up to YouTube. But I haven't had any challenges with that. So, yeah. Now, go ahead, sorry.
because that's a third party application, are there any privacy statements that you have in your syllabuses that speaks directly, or does Periscope have any privacy, statements on their website?
Concern pertaining to having someone.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, you know, in terms of, third-party things, and when you use, we use Quality Matters, and so one of the things is when you're using third-party or external websites, there should be a privacy statement, so I'm just wondering, I imagine they do, but.
That I can get that
have you seen
information for
anything?
you.
Yeah, okay.
But as
okay.
far as her, I had her permission to use, for her to be on the
Right,
video. So I
okay.
received her permission.
Okay.
So that, in that case.
Okay,
If that's,
okay.
if that's what you need, so I have
She
permission.
said you could do either public or private, so that,
You could. So the
When you put it on YouTube, right, you made it private and only allow certain people to see it?
well, I think that the question is,
oh,
for both.
Oh, okay,
So for
okay.
Periscope, that was a good question.
Mhm.
So for Periscope, very good question. So when you're broadcasting, you can choose to make it a public broadcast. So for example, when you saw me going all over the world, that's public. So anyone can search you out and see that you're broadcasting and watch it.
Okay.
But you can also choose to make it private. So then you can make it private for just your followers.
Okay.
Then you can
okay.
drill down deeper and then say certain people are blocked out from the broadcast.
And then from
If
that,
makes-
you could put like a statement in your syllabus saying, you know, when I broadcast from Periscope, it's gonna be on a private basis, nobody outside of who I want will be able to see it.
If you like, you could do
Okay.
that. But then the other thing, as far as with YouTube, there's also that preference there too.
Mhm,
You can also have it so it's private or if it's public
Yeah.
as well, if that's what you need. That was a good question.
so how are you managing your YouTube, channel or playlists and, or like some of these, repurposing them per class? Are you doing it as a playlist, or are they just going in, or you're embedding them into your LMS, or it sounded like?
A combination of both, so that's a good question. So as far as the management, it's kind of, I decide that per class. So if it's a face-to-face class, I may not have so many videos versus a totally online class, but I usually list them as playlists.
Okay. And so you teach, I take it you're teaching more than one section of your accounting
I
or
got
whatever.
you.
And I suppose some of it would pertain to some of them more than others or whatever. Are you tagging them? Are you doing any kind of like are you going into YouTube and looking at the analytics of, the students watching, you know, time and things like that?
No, I don't do that. And then with every class, even if it's the same section, I approach it as a clean slate.
Okay.
So I approach that class totally different than another class. So for example, this class was an introduction to finance class. Then after that, I had another class and I approached that totally in a different way, based on the students, you know, their interests, getting to know them online, what I think would be a great fit. So that's part of the reason why when I met Mrs. Knox and Mark Byer, just hearing their story, I thought that would connect well with the students I had in that course, and the same thing with the students in this course. I thought it would be a great fit, and it did work. It turned out working well.
Any thoughts about like maybe having students using Periscope as an assignment or something like that, or have you?
I haven't thought of that. One of my mentors, I don't know how, in the details, she had told me that she uses Snapchat, and she has students to go and then ask people or do snaps about certain things with accounting and things like that. The nuts and bolts of that, I'm not sure. I heard about that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't know how that would work, and, you know, how to put that into a lot of things you were mentioning, privacy.
I think someone said they were using Snapchat, using it for work or just personal?
Yeah, just for fun.
Just curious.
Right.
Anybody else said that they were using social for teaching and work? Or in education?
Well, this is what they call a live video share. So you have Facebook Live. I don't know if anyone has seen Facebook Live. That's another alternative. It's a little newer than Periscope, and really it does the same thing. The preference I have to Periscope is that it's a lot easier to, in my opinion, to use. It's a matter of, really, you download the app and you actually literally just push one button and you're broadcasting. So it's very seamless in that sense as far as the interface. Facebook, on the other hand, they have a lot more, you know, you have a wider audience. Facebook has, what, 1.6 billion users, I think, if, don't quote me, somewhere thereabouts, but.
So are you following anything related to like Periscope and like its community, or how people are using it, or is there, as I know it exploded, you know, what, like you said, like a year ago or whatever, when it kind of first came out. Yeah, there was a lot of questions, I think, initially about it, because people were worried about the nature of what some people did with broadcast.
Right.
For lack of a better term.
My experience, I've seen a lot with Hangouts on air. That, I've heard a lot of people talking about Hangouts on air. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist standalone anymore as well. The other thing, there was another application, actually it was the first live, what they call live share application, called Meerkat. And that went away in October of this, you know, of this month.
So when you were having her assistant recording you, were you guys just like walking up to the camera reading the messages, or what, were you having her read them to you, or how was when the Periscope, like you said, you had some students messaging or commenting in?
Good question. So her assist, we were sitting down in her office,
Right.
and then her assistant had my cell phone, and then she would just let us know students asking questions about this, and then she would respond.
So she was kind of looking to the side, watching.
Yeah, she was holding the phone,
Okay.
and then they were recording. So it was great. It was a great experience. And like I said, it took, we were there, I mean, together, beyond the recording time, I was there maybe less than a half an hour, and she was pretty surprised.
So the
about that.
comments come across then with the video when it downloads, so the comments come across in the video when it exports out to MP4 or whatever?
Oh, what do you mean, in the,
Like the comments that the students were.
no, only the video, just the video. I see what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Only the video. So when you're,
So it comes up like a layer.
right,
In the video.
so when you're actually broadcasting, then people can type in comments or ask questions. They can give something called hearts to, you
So
know.
if you were gonna do this kind of thing, you would probably wanna repeat the question then, I take it?
That,
as you're
right.
recording? Just
Just so
I'm just
people-
curious.
No, but that makes sense. That makes sense.
Or just, you piggyback off of what you're saying, if you upload that into your learning management system, maybe have some follow questions or guiding questions, so as they watch the video, they have certain things that they're looking for as they're looking at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I suppose you
yeah.
could do some
Mhm.
annotation to the YouTube
Mhm.
video if you wanted to kind of mimic
Mhm.
that.
Okay, so they can know
Yeah.
what was being
I mean,
asked.
yeah, otherwise you'd have to build that into your transcript or into your somehow.
Mhm.
Right, right. I mean, again, the students, they loved it. It was a great experience because then she's got a sheet of paper, because what happened, I emailed her the questions ahead of time, and then she had a chance to go over them, and then she
I
was.
would argue that it's probably more of an authentic experience,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, as opposed to even like the library. I would think, you know, it's kind of more like actual, you know, in her office and being, you know, that she's a businesswoman. And I would argue that it probably would be more of an authentic experience. Yeah.
Right, right. I mean, looking back, I could have had her do a whole tour and
Yeah.
everything of her office and talk about this, so. But like I said, she was more surprised, you know, than like, what are you, you know, where's your camera? What are you know, how are you gonna do this? But then after
Production
that,
quality. Yeah.
right, but she really liked it as well.
So could you do profile or landscape, I mean, just by the orientation of your phone or?
They would, so when it first came out, you couldn't record it in,
Yeah.
landscape or it wouldn't let you do that, but
Okay.
now you can.
Now you can, okay.
Right, that was one of the
I
changes.
just wondered, if it's like 16:9, you know, the orientation or whatever. Okay.
That was great. Any other questions? Any other comments, concerns? Any feedback?
I had a comment. This kind of reminds me of like GoToMeeting or like GoToWebinar, but it seems a little bit more user friendly because you can kind of take it on the go with you instead of me like lugging it around my laptop. So it seems like a really good alternative.
Yeah.
And then my other comment was to you because you asked the compliance question.
Mhm.
So the compliance statements are built into every course.
Okay.
So and even about third-party vendors.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great. Any other questions or thoughts? Well, I hope this helps. I mean, it's really helped me in my online courses, so I really hope it gives everyone an idea, helps you out, and the students as well.
So any other social media that you're using besides Periscope or?
That's a good question. So I'm really big into YouTube, so I use YouTube videos,
Yeah.
and I make quite a few of my own videos as well.
I don't know, somewhere at this conference, someone was doing something on, late positive, which is, used to be EDU Canon, and like pull in video and do some quizzing, polling, other things with it. I think there's a couple other ones, but, I could see even like maybe taking your videos and even doing, you know, building, get another assessment or something around the videos that you're recording.
Right. Well, what I've been doing are actually kind of small little skits
Okay.
on certain topics, and I talk about them, and I'm in different scenarios and different places. You know, normally they're no more than
Related to your course content?
related to my course content. Normally no more than maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Yes, but something that's kind of easy to watch, and you can just search me on YouTube, and then I've got 3 channels on there. So I've got a finance, accounting, and business, and you can take a look at the different videos there. I've also I've got 3 groups in Facebook, so I've got accounting education, business education, and financial education.
So did your administration raise their eyebrows at all when you told them you started using some of these? Or
They've been very supportive, very supportive. There's administration right there.
Glad to hear it. No, glad to hear it.
Yeah.
It's like, the students are.
They've been And then I'm on Instagram and Twitter, so you can follow me on there.
How about sharing it with other faculty that you're currently in the institution? Are you doing any faculty development, kind of sharing with them what you're doing?
Well, talking.
He doesn't
shit.
know this, but I just sent him a text saying, could you do this with the communications faculty? Because they're all teaching online.
That's good, that's good.
Especially with that group.
So, it's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Thanks for seeing me.
I need to stall.